Is having a fantastic couple of weeks. We are back. Super excited to be back with you. As you can tell, I am not at home. I am on a mini vacation at Margaritaville in Orlando. But anyway, so that's where I'm coming to you from. And a little under the weather. Been traveling a lot lately and just having a little under the weather, but all good. So tonight I want to talk to us about closing gaps. When we talk about the gaps, we think about the growth gaps, right? So I'm reading a new book and it's all about growth and personal development, all of that. And as I was reading it today, they were talking about the growth gaps. And I thought, oh my goodness, this applies in so many different ways to what we do here that I just had to talk about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But know your time, but again, doesn't matter when you get information, just as long as you get the information. So if you're watching the replay, just drop a hashtag replay. And I'm so excited to it recloses the misconception that we have to be ready, we have to be super motivated, we have to have the willpower to really reach our goals, because guess what, we don't. We just don't. We have to just make up our mind, right? We have to decide, commit, act, succeed, and then repeat. We've talked about that before as well. But when I think about the growth gaps, right? There's lots of them in this book that I'm reading. But a couple of them stuck out. So the first one was the timing gap. The that's the, well, I'll start on Monday, or I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start next week, next month. And then guess what? That turns into never. It turns into someday, which someday doesn't happen to be a day of the week. So when you're thinking about it, the timing gap, there's just not a good time for anything, right? And there's this law called the law of diminishing intent. And what this law says is the longer you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you will never actually do it. How many times have all of us said, oh, yeah, well, I had, or I read it happen, and we didn't take action when we decided to do it. All right. So that's when we talk closing the gap of timing. You have to just start. You have to, once you decide, you have to act immediately. Whether that's just changing one little thing. Remember, we talk about getting 1% better. And so imagine if when you decided to start getting healthy and reach your goals, you would change just one small thing to begin with. How much further along would you be now if you had just acted then on one small thing? And then it's easier to continue acting on those small things and adding additional small things to it, right? That's that habit stacking. And then before you know it, you're a whole different person. So that's the first gap, right? We have to just act. Is the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making a mistake. I'm afraid of doing something wrong. Well, guess what? You know what you're doing isn't working. And so let's try something different. And guess what? If that doesn't work, then you try something different, right? We can't be afraid to make mistakes. We just have to apply. And during that action, if we find, which again, number 4 is tracking of the 7-step signature system. If you make a mistake, it's tracked. You know, okay, I can't do this. My best example of that was I went out to dinner and had a specific chicken dish. And I remember this, it was at Longhorn, and I thought it had like hearts of palm and all kinds of stuff on it. And I thought, well, this was really great. You know, it was a great choice. I get back and it's like over 800 calories and all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. And I remember thinking, man, I messed up. But guess what? I just course corrected. I was like, well, I won't order that again. And then now it's not even on the menu anymore. So that's the second thing, closing the mistake gap. You just have to do it. And if it's not the right thing, at least you did something and we've tracked it so we can course correct, right? We know it's not working because we tracked it. And then you've got the perfection gap. This is the one that I see so many people get caught up in. They feel like I have to wait until the timing one, right? We already talked about the timing gap, but we have to wait for everything to be perfect. I have to have the perfect supplements, the perfect meal plan, the perfect everything. All things in my life have to be going perfect to be able to meet my just simply. When we talk about the perfection gap, I have to find the best way before I start. Something is better than nothing. Remember, we talk so much about progress over perfection. That's exactly what that relates to. Something is better than nothing. And if we can do just a little bit better, boom, we're making progress. And then you've got the inspiration gap. The I'll do it when I feel like it. Well, guess what? You're never going to feel like it. You have to schedule in your priorities and prioritize your commitments. Because if you don't prioritize, it's the first thing that gets pushed to the wayside when something happens, when something disrupts your routine. And guess what? We are full of disruptions. I can't tell you how many times this last week something has disrupted my schedule, right? But because I have my gym workouts, my class, all of these things, I have them programmed in, they still get done, right? So the I don't feel like doing it. Nike says it, just do it, right? That was their slogan, right? And when we talk about being motivated, right? Because that's all the I don't feel like doing it. The motivation, the willpower, all of that. When we think about that, if you simply just do it, whether you feel like it or not, then eventually you will start feeling like it. It's the opposite of what we think. Because we think we have to be ready and we have to feel like it, we have to be excited about it. You don't. You know what to do because you get the education. That's exactly how I show up a lot of times. Yesterday, I went to the gym. I did not feel like it. I promise you, I didn't feel like it. I don't feel good. But I went and I did it, right? And that's the beauty of it. I didn't feel like it, but I did it anyway. Did I feel like having, specific things to eat? No, I don't always feel like it, but you just do it. It becomes part of you. And then the last gap, to so many people, especially with social media being so prominent. And this is why I talk so much about, yes, when I lost my 113 pounds, I did it 1 pound 113 times, right? And it was in 8 months and 3 days. But how did I do it? I just did it. I got rid of the excuses. I got rid of the lack of motivation, if you want to say that, right? I just got rid of all of the excuses and I just did what I needed to do. But I don't say that because I'm some anomaly or a special. No, right? If I could do that, anyone can do that. And it was just by simply getting rid of all the excuses that these gaps create. Because these gaps, they're growth gaps for a reason. When we allow these gaps to creep in, then before you know it, you've got a whole canyon, right? Not just a little gap, it's a whole canyon. And then that becomes harder and harder to shut. So we have to really look at which growth gaps have a hold on you, right? Because if we really didn't have any of these growth gaps in our way, we would be making the progress we want to make. And maybe you are making the progress you want to make. So then go back and look at these growth gaps that we talked about and think to yourself, okay, how have I mastered this gap? That way, when some type of disruption shows up, you don't allow that growth gap to open back up. You make it stay closed, right? Because you've given up all the excuses. All right, so I want to go through those one more time, right? So the first one is the timing gap, right? The law of diminishing intent. The longer you wait to do something, the greater the odds that you will never actually do it. The second one, the mistake gap, being afraid of making a mistake. That's why we track. Tracking is number 4 of the 7-step signature system, right? You've got opt in, education, accountability, tracking, behavior modification, celebrating your wins, and giving back. So, the mistake gap, you can't be afraid of making a mistake because you're tracking. And if it doesn't work, you just simply course correct. Okay, we're back. All right, sorry about that, y'all. Okay, so you have the perfection gap, waiting until everything's perfect before you actually decide to do something. The next one was the inspiration gap, waiting till you feel like it, right? We no longer wait till we feel like it, we just do it. And then the last one, the comparison gap. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Your journey is your journey. So I want you to look and study those gaps and figure out which gaps are getting in your way. Or, like I said, if you're making progress towards your goals, which gaps have you mastered and what strategies are you going to put in place to make sure that that gap stays closed? All right, so that's what I want you to work on this next week is really mastering if several of those gaps are open for you, let's just pick one. Pick one and focus on closing that gap because the more gaps we can close, then you take that canyon and you start to really make it close it more and more, and then it becomes something small, and then maybe you only have one gap left and then you close that, and that's where everything comes together and you start making massive progress towards your goals. But the bottom of the thing you have to do, bottom line, you have to take action. So what action are you going to take either to close your gaps or maintain the gap closure this week? All right, drop that in the comments, send it to me in a text message. Either way, I will see you back here next Sunday. We'll be back on regularly scheduled time, 7 p.m. next Sunday. Um, and until then, I will see you in the comments, in my text messages. If you're in a coaching program, I will see you on our calls. And until then, I'm wishing you all the success, grateful for each and every one of you. And I will talk to you soon. Let's do the work, let's close the gaps, and let's start to grow. Bye, everyone.